What's going on, guys? This is Chris Parsons. I'm with my co-host JP Flellen, and thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Success Agent Podcast, where we're going to talk about strategies to help real estate agents sell more homes while spending less time and less money to do so with automation. Now, you can catch us here live on Success Agent Facebook page every week on Wednesdays, and it's our only focus to create content for you to really feast on, and it's designed to help supercharge your efforts and maximize your results, so that you can really scale to the level that you're looking for. Actually, something else I need to add, we're also on iTunes and Spotify. Definitely check us out there. So we don't want to mess around here because, what we want is also what you want, which is to really find that catalyst to success. Now, this month, the month of January, we've been focused on the basics of business, such as setting priorities and really outlining your goals and creating actionable steps to achieve them. And last week, we talked about reconnecting with your sphere, which is really your most profitable audience out there, your SOI. And today, we're going to further that topic by actually giving you some actionable items. And it's an item that a lot of people don't like doing, but it's super important just to do every once in a while to keep up to date with it. And that's really clearing out your database and making sure that who is in there is actually worth your time. So real quick, JP, why don't you tell us what is a database?
So your database is wherever you're storing your contacts. So that could be, a spreadsheet. It could be a CRM. It could be sheets of paper in an envelope, wherever you're storing the people that you're keeping in contact with on a regular basis. Now, I would recommend not using old school strategies because it's not very efficient. And it's not top of mind unless you're super, super disciplined about it.
Yeah.
But the database is basically whatever it is that you're using in order to get reference to the clients that you're working with. So that's kind of that in a nutshell.
Okay, cool. So obviously, technology has helped change or repave the way that we look at business and we look at communications. You talked about how you can have a CRM, you can do some older school methods. I think last episode you actually talked about a guy who did like the 12 folders, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so obviously you want to stay away from that. That's not going to help you guys with automation at all. The way I look at it is Zapier can't connect to your file cabinet, so nothing else can happen, right? So one of the things obviously that we really like to focus on is leveraging that technology and picking CRMs to actually help you go out and do that stuff. And that CRM needs to be friendly and needs to make sense, and it needs to be easily accessible. But before you put those people into your CRM, because you're probably considering a change in a CRM or whatever, you need to kind of filter through who's worth your time and who's not, who's worth a damn and who's not.
Right.
How often do you do that, if ever? I know it's like, again, it's like one of those chores that isn't necessarily fun. It's just a lot easier just to forget about everything. But when it comes time and you're looking at through your leads and you have like 10,000 leads in your database that you haven't emailed in 3 years, I mean, obviously that's like not a good thing. So how often do you think people should be doing that, or how often are you doing it?
So, you should be calling 5 people in your database every day.
Okay.
So you can constantly stay in touch with those folks because there's huge statistics out there that, within 2 weeks, people forget who their agent was that they were working with. Because what happens is that you got to be top of mind.
Yeah.
Real estate is a very compulsive purchase. As much as we say, well, we're going to get started now because we're going to be there in 6 months or whatever. But what ends up happening is it's in the moment is when they make the decision.
Right.
And so you want to be preemptive and try to be in that, be top of mind with your clients in that moment. Otherwise, they're just going to go on to whoever was convenient at the time, So, I mean, no matter what people say, the majority of loyalty when it comes to real estate is dead. I mean, they don't, because buying a house is a very selfish act. They don't really care who you've talked to or who was involved or who whatever. Like, I hear it all the time where they're like, yeah, I've been working with about 4 or 5 different people. And then I just started calling the listing agents because it was just easier for me. So it is very, very selfish process,
Mhm.
because it's, when I'm buying a house, it's like, it's all about me. It's all about me. It's like, I need to close by this time. I need to go see houses right now. I need to do this and that. And it's like, you know, that's fine, but you know, the end result becomes, especially in smaller communities, everybody knows who that person is, and you don't
Right.
want you want to be able to rein those people in, because people forget that as a real estate agent, you're the expert,
Hmm.
and so you got to act like the expert. You have to teach your clients that there is a certain courtesy and a certain way of acting while you're out there looking for houses.
Right.
If you're loyal to your agent, then your process or uh, experience is going to be more smooth. So that way there's not a tension like, well, this guy could just leave at any time, so I better, do this and that to try to, make sure that, I don't get into a competitive situation, or all of a sudden there's 3 agents involved and they're like, well, I've been working with this person. No, I've been working with this person. No, I've been showing this guy house for 6 months, and
Hmm.
so you've got to, agents are afraid to have those conversations. So what they end up doing is they just keep, you know, calling and texting and doing all this stuff, instead of creating a relationship with your client and saying, and then getting your buyer's agreement, buyer brokerage agreement out there, so they can sign that thing and say, yes, I'm committing to one agent. So that way they understand that there is a proper way to conduct yourself when you're out there looking at houses. And agents are just so afraid. They're just like, well, we just got to get them into a house. Just got to get that signed deal. Got to get that deal going. And then they'll be my client. It's like, well, if that's the case, then they weren't really your client.
Yeah. So I guess one of the key things you're saying is making sure that people who are in your database aren't trashed from the first place. So you're actually having those conversations ahead of time and you're creating that relationships. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah. You got to,
Okay.
I mean, make sure that, you know, the people that you're working with are a good use of your time.
Yeah. Yeah. You hear about agents like the goal would be to like pick and choose who they're working with. They could say no to someone because it would just be like a nightmare. They could feel it deep in their core, like, no, this guy is going to be such a nightmare. Then they have their commission, the commission boys talking like, oh, it's a $900,000 house, that extra money would be pretty nice in my pocket. But it's having that freedom of being able to choose who you work with, that's going to give you the ultimate satisfaction out of your business, and making sure that you keep, before those people ever even touch your database, I guess, there's the bad people. Before they ever even touch your database, you make sure you filter through them and just never let them in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, so obviously bad shit's going to get in there anyway. What are some things that you do to kind of categorize that? So like, for example, you can use like things like stages or tags. Do you have any strategies like that you're using? Are you like keeping really good notes? Are you keeping action plans? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, it's really just I keep it super simple. There's just I just go through, and they say the open rate for text messages is about 98%.
Mm.
So I usually just go through, and there's a 29-day follow-up plan, so you can text and email and phone call combination. Pretty much, if you're getting 0 responses, because if you've done every week you've at least texted them twice, you've called them twice, and you've emailed them twice. By the end of that month, if there's a 0 response, then they're pretty much a dead lead. So,
Right.
you pretty much filter through your database every month and figure out who's going to be proactive and who's going to like want to have a conversation. Otherwise, it's pretty much, there's enough leads out there to go around that, the ones that want to talk to you are going to talk to you, and the ones that don't aren't.
Yeah.
And, most of your phones now, you can put read receipts on there. So you can set it up to where you can tell if they're reading those text messages or not, as well as with your email. So you can check your open rates and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I didn't know you could do it with text messages though, because I think that's a setting
in
that
your phone.
the receiver has to set though. Because for email, I know you can look at how many times they've read it, if they clicked on links or any of that stuff. I don't know about cell phones.
Yeah, I was just looking at least on my iPhone X, it has it. You can click the little button that says read receipt.
Huh.
And also, if you're iPhone to iPhone, you can tell if it reads.
Yes.
Thing that pops up that says read.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
I mean, you can pretty much track who's gonna want to get involved or not. But there's philosophies out there that are like, if you got a list, hit the list, keep hitting it until they tell you to unsubscribe, stop calling me, stop texting me, whatever. So
Does that make sense to you though?
what?
To just like keep hitting the list, be relentless, hit the same people, even if they never talk to you. It's been
And that's
2 months.
philosophy. I mean, each person has to decide whether it's worth it to them or not.
Yeah.
But if you want a long-term strategy, you hit the list.
Mm-hmm.
Keep hitting the list and just be relentless. And then when they, because, and you can always, so I was just listening to another podcast a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the love languages of leads. And you have to find the method of communication that's the best for your clients.
Yes, big time.
So whether it's text, or if it's video, or if it's email, or if it's social, or if it's just a phone call. So you have to decide what, and if you're not hitting those 5 different avenues of communication, then you've got to figure out what's going to be the best way to do that. And sometimes as we're communicating, we've got to figure out, do we just, be non-salesy, or do we just be upfront?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people nowadays are just like, just tell me what you want, dude. Don't try to do some sort of psychological trick.
Yeah.
If you're going to send me a video, just say, hey, I've tried a couple times to try to get a hold of you. Just wanted to send you this quick video to make sure that we're communicating in the style that's appropriate for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you have another method of wanting to communicate, just let me know, whether it's text, email, or phone call. Or if you like these videos, that's awesome, and I can just continue to do that as well. So, or we could do a FaceTime, or however you prefer. So just let me know. I know you're super busy. Talk to you later. Boom.
Yeah.
Easy stuff.
Right. So I guess really the key is just to not procrastinate on who you already have. And, as you're going to get new leads, you obviously new leads to keep a business thriving. You need that new business. But it's important that even though those new leads are a little bit more exciting because they're new and they're fresh, and it's like in your mind you have this new opportunity, there's still a shit ton of opportunity waiting for you in your database. And the only method of actually going through it properly would be for you to actually physically go through it, call these people, text these people, and just try to get a response. And if not, then delete them, right?
Right, exactly. And I think the thing too is like, I was part of a program for a while, and there was a statistic that they had come up with that said that you can't really engage with people more than 15 people at a time. So like if you're,
yeah, I believe that.
So if you don't have 15 people that you're working with right now, then you need to keep hitting your database.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 15 people or more, then 1, you need to get an assistant to help you out with this stuff. And then 2 is that, you need to start getting some more people that are quality, and then you can afford to get rid of the ones that you've been hitting for, 6 months, 8 months, a year.
Yeah.
And I would say no matter what, if you got old leads in there that are older than a year and you haven't engaged with them at all on any level, then I would say, move on to the next ones,
Yeah.
start filtering out these older leads,
Yeah. Well, what about an ISA though? Couldn't you get an ISA to go through these old leads?
Good. I mean, it comes down to how you structure your business.
Yeah.
So it really is, can you afford an ISA? If you can't, then if you can, then get one. If you can't, then you might want to get a VA, and then, there's tons of companies out there that do this kind of stuff, Rockerbox and Agentology, and then there's 1,000 calls a day. There's tons of companies out there that could do this kind of stuff, and they already are trained in the real estate world. Right. So, you just want to make sure that it's all about how you structure your business. So,
yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to add to?
I think it's good, man.
Yeah, I think that was pretty short and sweet, but really hit all the pain points or the important points. Yeah. All right, guys. So we're transitioning slowly into the new month. We still have one more episode before the end of this month, and that's actually we're going to be focusing on strategic farming. So really, like that could be like geo farming, or even kind of what we talked about, farming through your database. But creating a strategy and understanding big picture what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it. So we're going to be covering that next week. Again, if you guys want to catch us on other different platforms, we are now on iTunes and we are on Spotify. Give us a rating on both if you're really liking what you're hearing. Those ratings really, really help, and definitely make sure you subscribe to them as well. JP,
we are also on Anchor.
Anchor as
also
well.
On Stitcher.
Anchor and Stitcher.
So the best thing to do is if you can give us a 5-star review, if there's things that you like. If you want to give us a less than that, then send us some suggestions of content that you'd like us to cover.
Yes.
And that way we can keep the content nice here and fresh, and give you some stuff that gives you some things that you can have actionable items. So
perfect. So JP, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me at james.fluellen@gmail.com. You can sign up for a 30-minute coaching call with me at 307-772-1184. Or you can find me on social. Just type in JP Fluellen. I'm everywhere. If you Google me, I'm everywhere. So if you can't find me, then you are not looking. So,
dude, I love hearing that every single time. Cool, guys. Well, I am not everywhere, although I'm working on it. If you need to reach out to me, definitely feel free to, just through this page, Success Agent Podcast, right on Facebook. You can personal message me. Full name's Chris Parsons. Love to chat with you, and we'll see you next week.
All right, man. See ya.
Catch you later.